Yeah, sorry about that. Good day, family of Yahuah. Peace and blessings be unto you all. Please don't mind the video quality. I had to use another laptop, until my laptop gets repaired. All praise be unto the Most High Yahuah for His grace, for His wisdom, His bountiful mercies, and for all that He has done for each and every one of us. So we're going to be continuing from the biblical commandments. And the reason why this is very important is that we need to know who we need to know the true name. We need to know the foundations actually. Sorry about that. We need to know the foundations of the gospel, of the scripture, of the Torah. Because there are a lot of people who call themselves Christians, but they don't follow the Torah. They don't obey the Torah. They don't follow what the Torah says. They don't follow what the Torah dictates. And yes, we are under a new dispensation of grace, but grace doesn't mean lawlessness. Like I said earlier, grace gives you the opportunity and the chance to try again without being rejected by Yahuwah, because grace makes it so that the Ruach HaKodesh makes it easier for us to walk in scriptures, to walk in truth. And when we fall short, the Ruach HaKodesh is there to correct us, to convict us, so that we would, be in right standing and our hearts will not be fully hardened. So, we're going to talk about commandment number 3, but before then, I want to quickly say this. This assembly was created as a response to the evils that the churches have committed for a very long time. They have stripped our people of their identity because they allowed the children of Esau. They were supposed to be the people who are supposed to protect us, protect the children of Yasharel from the hands of the oppressors, but they joined in the oppressors to oppress us even further. They have a hand in a lot of things in this country, and they benefit from the oppression of so many of us in Nigeria. So this is a response to us. This is not a spiritual response from the Most High Yahuwah himself to basically bring back his people, to let his people know that that this is the way, walk in it, that the ones that have been shown to you they have led you and they have deceived you. So it's to bring many people back into the truth, back into the Torah, because the Torah is not grievous, the Torah is not difficult to follow, but the problem is a lot of our people don't want to follow it. A lot of our people, they want to give an excuse as to the reason why they don't want to follow it. That's why you see narratives of, oh, we are not under the law, we are under grace. Well, technically, we are not under the law, but it doesn't mean the law doesn't apply. It doesn't mean that the law is useless and is vain. Because if there is a law that is universal and Yahuwah said is forever, and you basically say that the law is done away with, then anything that happens to you, it's what you will get. Anything that literally happens to you is what you will get, because you said with your own mouth that you have rejected Torah. The Torah, the law, is one law for all the nations. It is not one law for one nation, one law for another. No, the Torah is one law for all the nation, one law to rule them all. That's what it is. The Torah is one law to rule them all. It is not a law of, you follow, you will not follow. No. Everyone must obey this law in order for you, in as much as you live in this corporate world, you must obey this law in order for you to, in this sin world, in this world of sin, in this world of cruelty, in this world of madness, you need to follow this law in order to separate yourself from the rest of the world, in order to have eternal life. That's the reason for the law. Now, the law is no longer law of the letter. That's what people need to realize. The law is no longer the law of the letter, but now it's the law of the Ruach. Because I think in the book of Joel it says that no more shall a man say obey the law, for everyone shall but the law of Yahuah shall dwell in their hearts. Nobody will be teaching you to obey the law. And that's the purpose of Yahushua's death and resurrection. So that we'll follow the law, so that nobody will have to be teaching us how to follow the law. The law would come as a package with the Ruach HaKodesh. Now, if you choose to follow it, the Ruach HaKodesh will always correct you. There's no way, in as much as you have received the Ruach HaKodesh, once you stray away to pull you back. So, in as much as that is still very much valid, we must always take heed that we do not lose our salvation. Alright, this third commandment is one of the most broken commandments in the world. It is the most broken commandment in the world. The first two, you know, you can still the first two might not be broken like that because some people do not have the knowledge of Yahuah and Yahusha. They don't know the name of Yahuah and Yahusha. But the third one is the one that is broken because be ye ignorant or not, they break this commandment. And if you break one of the laws of Yahuah, you have basically broken the whole law because it's a cascading law. That means it's a law that is not independent. It is a law that you break one, you over time you will break the rest. Over time, or it's like a domino effect. It's like you break one, the rest is broken. That's how the law is. If you get away with one, then that means that it won't be long before you become lawless. It won't be long before you become lawless. That's how the law of Yahuwah is. So let's go to Exodus 20 and verse 7. Now, do not bring the name of Yahuwah your Elohim to naught, for Yahuwah does not leave the one unpunished who brings his name to naught. Now, I'm using the Hallelujah scriptures. If you can see it, this is it. It has the name of Yahuwah here. This is Yahuwah's name. Now, the Hebrew letter, the name starts from here to this side. It's from right to left. And the reason why it's from right to left is so that it's basically how the sun and the moon usually operate. It comes from the east to the west. But that is how the name is. And the Paleo Hebrew letters has always been like that. The ancient writings too has always been like that. It's just that English, everything is twisted. So in English it will be like this, but in Paleo Hebrew it will be like this. Have this at the back of your mind because we are going to get into that. So why do we say Yahuwah, Yahusha, Ruach HaKodesh? Why do we say this? Because that is what was said originally by the Hebrews. You have to understand the Bible is not a Christian book. The Bible is a Hebrew book. It is a book that is written to the Hebrews by the Hebrews for the Hebrews. That is the Bible. The problem is that Christians hijack the book. They destroyed the original manuscript. So that's why the New Testament was actually written in Koine Greek. Because a lot of people would say, oh, the New Testament was written in Koine Greek, so that means the Greek is the original language. No, that's not the truth. The Romans, after Kasala burst. Let me just say it in pidgin. After Kasala burst in the Bar Kokhba war and the Hebrews lost the revolution, the Romans invaded Jerusalem. Jerusalem. They invaded Jerusalem. They took the early writings of Paul as well as some of the apostles, and they destroyed what they did. They didn't fully destroy them. What they did was that they translated them to Koine Greek before they destroyed them. They kept some, they destroyed a lot of them. They kept some, they retranslated it. Once it was retranslated to Koine Greek, they now became the custodians of the book. They became the custodians of the writings of Paul. That's why you see that some of Paul's writings sometimes used to be a tongue twister, and a lot of Christians don't really understand because they are not seeing it through the lens of a Hebrew viewpoint. So, because of that, a lot of people believe that Yahusha was Greek. A lot of people believe that the early apostles and the apostles that followed after, and the followers of Yahusha that also followed after, were Greek, which was not true. Were Romans, were either Romans, or some, because they are twisted in their mind, they will think that they are the Arabian Palestinians, but they will not accept that it is people like me that Paul was actually writing to. Paul, yeah, I think it was written in the book of Acts, I think Acts 12 or so, where Paul was talking about when he was captured by Yahusha, and he spoke to him in the Hebrew tongue. Because one thing you have to understand from Paul is that Paul could speak multiple languages. Paul was skilled in Greek as well as Latin, which was the Roman tongue, as well as Hebrew. And he was mostly skilled in Hebrew because that was his native language. But he could speak Latin and this thing, Greek. So it was easier for Paul to communicate to the Greeks and to the Romans than when it comes to the scripture, the Torah, than it were if a Hebrew would just try and speak his Hebrew language, and then the Greeks and the this thing, they will not understand. Because Yahusha's goal was that after he died, his message will be preached out not just to the children of Yasharel. This is one thing Hebrew Israelites need to know, and even people in the assembly need to know. It's the word is not just for the Yasharel alone, it's also for the Gentiles. Yahusha's goal was that the message will be also be preached to the Gentiles, not just to Yasharel alone, not just to the lost tribes alone. So this is why I don't agree with Hebrew Israelites when they say, um, you know, the book, the Bible was only written like the way Yahusha said that I should go into the world and preach to all the nations. That it means that he was just preaching to the lost tribe. Yes, the lost tribe were dispersed. Some stayed in, they were dispersed to different parts of the world. The 10 tribes. Some of them did not go back to the ones that went back to Jerusalem, were called Samaritans, but the remaining were scattered to the four corners of the earth. Some stayed in Asia, some stayed in Rome, some stayed in the deepest parts of Africa. That's Egypt. No, some stayed in Africa. That's Egypt, Kush side, and then there were some that migrated to the deepest parts of Africa. That's why in Yahusha's time, it was no strange thing if Ile-Ife, that I'm a Yoruba person, Ile-Ife and the Bantu areas were occupied by Hebrews. It was no strange thing, actually. If the land of Ile-Ife and the land, no, Oyo is mostly Hebrews, but if the land of Ile-Ife and the land of Oyo were mostly occupied by ancient Yasharel, it would be no strange thing because not all of Yasharel stayed in um, Jerusalem, in the southern tribe. Many were dispersed. Okay, so all that talk to the main cocoa. Why is it that we should not call Yahuah's name in vain? To not reduce, what does it mean to not call Yahuah's name in vain? It means to not reduce it to nothing and to not add your own translation or transliteration to it. Call it as it is. That's just what it's saying. Say the name of Yahuah. Don't reduce it to a swear word. Yeah, even when you say the name of Yahuah, don't reduce it to a swear word. Don't reduce it to a meaningless word. And don't try and change the name. That's what it means. Don't change the name. Don't reduce the efficacy of the name. And don't try and misinterpret the name. But Christians don't do this. And this is why we have errors in the body of Yahusha. What Christianity did is that it took the name, the so-called early church, they took the name, they not even they removed the name of Yahuwah from the scriptures. That's during not just during the Protestant Reformation, but even before that, during the time of the Catholics, where the Meranos or the Moors they were still within Spain and Portugal. The immigrants, the Hebrew immigrants of Spain and Portugal before they were kicked out. So it has been a constant attack because one thing the children of Esau do is that they debase everything. They spoil and ruin everything. Literally. They took the word of Yahuwah and the word of Yahuwah they gave it to a demonic person who twisted the name, removed the name, and put the name of Baal. Because if you were to change the name of Lord to Hebrew, it will literally mean Baal. And that's a foolish thing. People always call him Lord, but they don't really know the power of the name. They don't really know the power of the name. That's the thing. When it comes to the power of the name, all of a sudden Christians become amnesic. Names carry power. I will tell you this. In the land of Yasharel, all the names had Yah in them. Yah had Yahuwah in them. All the names had Yah in them. All of them. Almost all of them, actually. There were some that had El. There were some that had Al. That's if, some people used to use their Aramaic tongue. While some they just use the proper Hebrew tongue. But in the Hebrew tongue, it's called Al. A-L. The Aramaic tongue is called El. So, um, people used to have Al. Al means master. Al means Adonai. Al means a great one. Yah is the name is the short form of Yahuwah. Now, a lot of people. Let me quickly go somewhere. A lot of people don't realize the name of the word Yahweh. Wait, me, wait. Who is the God of Cannanites? Okay. All right. So this one saying Yahweh is not an object of God. Was distinct from. Okay, so Yahweh AI, sometimes it used to lie. It always lies. It's not that it always lies, it lies because there are some things that it has changed. So look at this. If you can see it here. All right. So let me just say one thing that people need to understand. Let me just summarize this. Okay. Let me just quickly say what's written here. Canaanite supreme god. The chief deity of Canaanite was El, which was the patriarch of the father of the gods, including Baal. Distinct origins. God that Yahweh had it. Wait, listen. Most scholars argue that Yahweh originated outside Canaan, likely in the Edomite, Midianite regions of the south, which was later adopted by the Israelites. Okay, the Israelite religion evolved from polytheism to money. So, and the names of the Canaanite god El were submersed into the identity of Yahweh. Okay, so long story short, okay, no, it's okay. Wikipedia here says that Yahweh is an ancient Semitic deity in the southeastern ancient Levant that became the national god of the Iron Age kingdom of Yasharel, Samaria, and Judah. Okay, so goes back to at least the Iron Age and the Bronze Age. Aha, major court center, Jerusalem, abode, Edom, and Sinai. Okay, so now let's go to the Edomites. Yahweh, okay, Yahweh of Teman. Hold on, I think it's. Let me see. I think I have the picture of it. I'm just temporarily. All right. So, to cut the long story short, when people say Yahweh, they are referring to an Edomite god, an Edomite entity. When people say Yahweh, they are calling on the Alaim that has oppressed them. But when it comes to saying Yahuah, they don't know anything about it. The reason why Yahuah is still a true name is because it is the name that he gave to the children of Yasharel to be calling him. And even further than that, it was the name that Adam used to call him. The problem is that our people don't want to accept the truth. We like conformity. We like when things are the same, when things are, you know, not they are not, there's no change. Where there's no change, there's no opposition, there's nothing to question their belief, their morality. They can't defend themselves when they are being questioned. And instead of trying to understand from the viewpoint of others, they go into, insults, speeches, loud. They become loud. They become very, very offensive. And this is the spirit that roams in the hearts of many because people don't have the foundation that the scriptures was written to the children of Yasharel. It was written to the people who are lost, who are scattered to the four corners of the earth, black people, Negroes. The Bible was written to you. It was written by you and it was written for you. It's not written to the other nations. Yahuwah doesn't really care about the other nations. He cares that they can come in to, his fold. He really does. Like, if you come into the fold, if you come in to want to know Yahuah more, and then you etch yourself in the family of Yahuah, that's the children of Yasharel, he will welcome you with open arms. He will literally welcome you with open arms, but he does not really care about the nations and their sins. When Yahuah was referring to Yasharel in the book of Hosea, he referred to her as someone who loves whoredom. In the book of Jeremiah, it's even worse. He says, when he was talking about Olobia and Hobia, he says that the truth, this is not, it's bad enough that you are prostituting yourself, you are committing spiritual adultery, but you are paying other nations, you are paying other, normally they pay a prostitute to sleep with them, but this one is paying other people, other nation, other men to sleep with her. Don't you see that that's a debased mind? That is a highly corrupted mind. And that was what Yasharel was in the beginning. Well, not in the beginning per se, but when they were in the land of Yasharel, when they decided to turn away completely from Yahuah and they decided to worship, to inflame themselves with other Elohim to the point where they did not even call upon the name Yahuah. They knew his name, but they would not call upon it. Our people know. The thing is that they know who they are. Now that we have awakened them, our job is basically complete. Our job is done. Like we that we are in the awakening, our job is done. The first phase of our job is done. Yes, if you tell the people of Yashara who they are and they refuse to listen, they will be the ones that will be at fault. It's not you. If you are from the assembly and you are watching me, if you have told your people, you've traced your lineage, you've done your homework, you've traced your lineage, you've seen that some of the causes of Deuteronomy 28, can be linked to you, and you've seen a lot of things that is happening to you and your family, and then you can trace it that, oh, because you rebelled and sinned against Yahweh and you repented from it, and then you try to call the people that you love, your family, your friends, it can be whatever, into the truth, and then they don't listen to you. It is not you at that time. Now it is them that has to do their own homework, because they will either be judged, they will either be baptized by either the Ruach HaKodesh in correction, in love, in support, in teaching, in wisdom. They will either be corrected in that, or they will either be baptized in that, or they will be baptized in fire, and that's judgment. When John was talking about, I baptize you with water, but he that baptize you will baptize you in the Holy Spirit and in Ruach HaKodesh and in fire. You think the fire is talking about is just da 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 da, da, that stuff that the Christians used to do, that they'll be saying, also they'll be blasting in tongues and they'll be saying fire, fire, fire. No, he's talking about judgment when it means fire. The Ruach HaKodesh, you either go through the Ruach HaKodesh or you go through punishment. Those are the only two options you have. There is no in between. Those are the only two options you have. And unfortunately, people always pick the second option, especially our people. The righteous can die and be done with. I can die and he will be in Abraham's bosom. He will be resting in Abraham's bosom. The righteous can die and be resting in Abraham's bosom. But when the wicked dies, there is no hope for them. There's no salvation for them, because at the very moment death comes, that is when judgment comes. And when I mean judgment, I mean a forever judgment, what we call shew or hellfire. Hellfire is very real, very, very real. The Bible has made several records of it. There is a ton of records for hellfire in the Bible. So don't let any foolish person deceive you that there is no such thing as hellfire. And the most stupid thing I used to hear is this reincarnation nonsense. Another teaching of Hashatan. Alright. The problem with our people is that we have taken the ways of the other nations and we have adopted it as our own. When Yahuah has basically said that do not learn the ways of the other nations, but our people no good. So whatever they have is what they will get. I mean, whatever they see is what they will get. But to those who are in the assembly, I want you to understand one thing. Call the name of Yahuah. You have to keep calling the name of Yahuah. You literally have to, because that is how you reclaim your identity in Yahusha. Now, most people will say, oh, there is no need for that. But the people saying this are blind. The people saying this themselves don't even know who they don't understand anything. They are just lost beings. They are just lost entities. They don't understand anything when it comes to scriptures. They can't even read scriptures. One thing I have noticed with Christians now is that no matter how much they read scriptures, they cannot understand it. Yes, I have been inspecting Christians. There are a lot of these so-called Christian pastors that cannot properly teach Bible. I used to see the way my family, my parents just signed themselves up for a church fellowship. Now we don't do it in our home, but we used to do it in our shop. But this church fellowship, I can tell that this man is still a child spiritually. He doesn't know the I think Yahuwah caps Christians at a very certain level, at a very small level. This is just my theory, but I think Yahuwah caps Christians at a certain level where no matter how much they try and preach, they will never be able to get there because they don't allow their understanding to go beyond Christianity. Because in order to properly understand scriptures, you have to go beyond Christianity. That is where you now have to go into the truth. Because the moment you are still under Christianity, this is it. It doesn't go further than that. It literally does not go further than that. Now, you might have a ton of head knowledge, but your work would testify who you truly are. It's basically your work that will testify because a lot of things you can't hide spiritually. You can hide the amount of knowledge you have. I mean, you can hide the amount of the things that you know by speaking a lot of things, a lot of jargons, but you cannot hide the state of your work. That's the one thing you cannot hide. And unfortunately, many Christians, the state of their work is very weak. When you speak the name of Yahuwah in vain, you basically sell yourself short. And a lot of people, when they come across the name for the first time, they are confused, rightfully so, because they are like, where did this name come from? And I understand that part. What, and I can tolerate that part. What I will not tolerate is when Christians, sorry, let's not go there, is when you start to mock the name. That is where your issue with Yahuwah will start. It is one thing for you to be shocked and surprised that somebody is calling on a name you don't know. It's another thing if you don't do your due diligence, but because of your preconceived notion of what you have for that person or for Yahusha, because it's not the person that you are talking to, it's Yahusha you are talking to. That's the foolish thing. Christians would hear the name of Yahuah and then they become very angry and leave it. Why are you angry? Why are you leaving? That testifies one thing. You don't love Yahuah. You don't love the God that you claim to serve. And this is even a test. Because when Yahuah revealed his name, look at how many people were disproving it on the internet. Look at how many people were willing to stand up. Christians, oh, I'm not talking about any other religion. Christians were willing to stand up and defend the name of their oppressors, most especially black Christians. They stood up with boldness, with courage, and with much feistiness in their eyes to lambast and blaspheme the name of Yahuwah and Yahusha. This is why we see so many of these Christians dying now. I'm going to do an expose on winners because they too. I did an expose on redeem. That's just the first. We are going to go into winners. And the reason why we are going to do that is because we want people to start leaving these churches. That is the goal eventually. It will happen because we don't want it that Yahuwah will be the one to force you to leave. We in the assembly don't want that. We don't want it to be Yahuwah that would either force you to leave or will kill you in that church. That is why we are calling you guys out now so that your lives can be saved. But that is just the first step. Luckily, there are so many young people who are trying to know Yahuwah for themselves. They're also calling God Lord. There have been so many interpretations of the name, but most of it usually relate to Baal. In the exception of God, which is a title, it literally means nothing if you don't know the God you're attaching it to. And Adonai, which is the Hebrew word for master, it's not the Hebrew word for Lord. Adonai means master. Adonai means somebody who is above me. That's what it means. Those are the only two exceptions. The rest are translated to other gods, other demonic gods. Yahweh is the god of the Cannanites and the Edomites. So that's basically tossed away. We can't use that word. Jehovah is a recent invention because the word J did not exist, and Jehovah is a Yiddish name for a god of destruction, Krishna, which the Khazarians worship because the Khazarians are the synagogue of Satan. Why are you allowing the synagogue of Satan dictate how you worship Yahuwah? Why do you allow the synagogue of Satan to basically tell you how you should worship your Elohim, your Allahim? Why? It's because you don't want to know the truth. If you want to know the truth, you will realize that everything these people say and everything they have done so far to you is lies. They've basically been lying to you. These are the same people who provided ships to the British, the Portuguese, and the Spaniards. Not just the Spaniards alone, to the British and the Portuguese most especially, and to France, and to Germany, and to Belgium, to oppress us as a people. They literally provided the ship. They made money out of our slavery, and they are still making money from us till today. They are still building their wealth and excesses of their wealth out of us, out of our resources, out of the things that we have, the things that Yahuwah has blessed us with. Because the thing is that the children of Yahshua, wherever our legs step fit into, we are like the gems of the world. Why do you think the world calls us Jews? No, not the Khazarians. Oh. I'm not talking about those Khazarians. They are not the Jews, they are Khazarians. They are Khazarians pretending to be Jews. Now, the word Jews means Judah. However, in this context, the word Jews that I'm going to use now literally means special people or Kodesh people, a holy people unto Yahuwah. That's what we are. Oh, yes. Our lives is tied. Let me repeat that. Our lives is tied to Yahuwah. The first is through the old covenant. No, the covenant, the first covenant we had with Yahuwah, which we broke, despite the fact that Yahuwah was a husband to us. The second is the renewed covenant, which Yahuwah renewed. That means that covenant is still very much in effect. So, why do you think we are the bottom class of the world? It's because Yahuwah has made it such that without Him, we are nothing. Yes, without Yahuwah, we are nothing. We are nobodies. We are empty people. The world will never respect us. They will never, they will never, even though we have not attacked them, pillaged them, killed them, done anything to them, the world will never accept us. They will never honor us. They will never help us because the world recognizes its own and we are not its own. We are not part of the world. So the world has to recognize you as its own before it can give you respect, honor, and the dignity that you deserve. But we who are called out, that's why I said that our people are going to inherit the world. That is coming. That is what Yahuwah has promised in this Bible, which they will never teach you properly. They will never teach you this book. Your pastors are not designed to teach you the truth. Because if they did, they would be preaching from these parts of the book, Jeremiah. They'll be preaching from Jeremiah, Isaiah, Ezekiel, from and the minor prophets. They will be teaching from that. They will be teaching a lot from that. All of them goes to seminaries to become idiots. Yes. I graduated from a Christian school, but I realized that many of these people are literally idiots. They don't know anything about the Bible. They don't know they still believe the promises is for Christians. When Yahweh has never once referred to Christianity. There was no such thing as Christianity when the Paleo Hebrews were around. So why are Christians giving special treatment? Is because they don't know our people don't know anything. They defend lies. The fruit of Christianity is showing right in front of your face. Many of these so-called Christian nations now are scrambling because now they've dig a pit for themselves that they cannot come out of. And Yahweh designed it that way so as to teach us, so that to let our people know that the time of their deliverance is close. When the world starts to crumble, not your deliverance is close. Know Yahuah for yourself and be at peace with his name. Don't fight it. Literally don't. You don't need to fight the name. It's just a name. Just say it. Speak his name and let him do the work he needs to do in you. But also follow his commandments. Love him. Tinu tinu, toko toko. That means with your whole heart and with your whole being. Love him with every part of yourself that you have. And when you are weak in one area, ask him to give you strength. He will help you. He will literally help you. That's all for today. May Yahuwah Baruch all who are deserving. Um, so we'll continue with our Wednesday discussion. Um, Yah willing, I hope that you know, and I hope that my laptop would be ready in before next week. Um, this is just an auxiliary. I'm just using it for the meantime, and uh, you know, please join. If you are watching this, please be joining our Saturday, or you can be watching our videos on YouTube. Be joining our Saturday programs. We usually host this thing on Saturdays, meetings on Saturdays, and where we basically teach at and then we open the floor for discussion. On Wednesdays is usually me because mm, the software I'm using doesn't allow me to go for an hour, so I have to basically say what I need to say for the next 50 to 60 minutes. So, and also, if you are new, we have a WhatsApp where we basically, we have a WhatsApp where we basically discuss a lot of things, and there are many people who are in the faith who will help you a lot. Even me, myself, I'm learning. Then we can't reach. There is no highest level to knowledge. There's no highest level to knowing about Yahuwah. And one thing we also have to understand is that we also love each other. That's why the fact that some of us argue, some of us might have some issues with some things in our lives. We try to help each other through prayer, through fasting, and also through giving in some cases. Um, and I hope that you all have a good day. The thing is that when you come into this truth, you will struggle, but be of good cheer. Yahuwah has conquered all your battles. Thank you all, and shalom.